Okay, welcome to the Out for Pride Network event. I would like to acknowledge the land that we are on as the Kulin Nation and that we gather on Indigenous lands across the nation and acknowledge the elders past, present and emerging. OFA is a national completely volunteer-run organisation that seeks to support and mentor aspiring LGBTQIA+ professionals. Our vision is to create an Australia where every aspiring LGBTQA+ professional is confident to be their authentic self in workplaces that celebrate diversity and are inclusive. Our mission is to provide visible mentors, role models, thought leadership, and targeted support to aspiring LGBTQIA+ professionals, and to strengthen the sense of community among professionals and students. Our mentoring program has had over 2,000 participants since inception, and it is run on the platform, an online platform that allows people to choose their own match. We also host events at our partner firms, both skill development workshops and large networking and panel events like this one, where we highlight role models, share experiences, and bring the community together. We exist because despite improvements in LGBTQIA+ equality, young LGBTQIA+ professionals continue to face significant anxieties when entering the workplace and are more likely than any other age cohorts to hide an element of their LGBTQIA+ identity. Only 28% of LGBTQIA+ professionals under the age of 25 are out to everyone at work. Now, about the Out for Pride Network event. It is imperative to have representation and visibility of the LGBTQIA+ role models at work. Therefore, through this event, Out for Australia would like to discuss the importance of having a Pride Network, the importance it has, the impact it has on LGBTQIA+ employees, and the role it plays in educating allies. It will also highlight how organisation and employees can set up a Pride Network if the organisation does not already have one, or how to keep the activities and conversations going if they already have one. We will highlight the importance and the impacts and learnings of having a Pride Network in an organisation, and this focuses on the benefits and impacts of Pride Network in the workplace and organisation. And with this week being with this past week being Trans Remembrance Week, we're also focusing some of our questions around how to celebrate this important milestone. Now to our panelists. We have Darren, who is the Diversity and Inclusion Manager for Metro Trains Melbourne. Since being awarded the current contract to operate Melbourne's Metropolitan Train Network, Metro Trains Melbourne has been delivering against ambitious and transformative diversity targets, including increasing the percentage of women in the workplace and in senior leadership, addressing social inclusion through recruitment targets and underrepresented groups, and improving LGBTIQ+ inclusion, and are measured by the AWEI criteria. Metro progresses work towards LGBTIQ+ inclusion through a D&I steering committee to provide executive governance, and a Pride working group to deliver on actions, and a Pride network to support employee identification and participation. We also have Alex, who identifies as she, her pronouns, is the Senior Diversity and Inclusion Advisor at AGL Energy, and is our LGBTQ+ role model within and outside her workplace. Since coming out as bisexual, Alex has co-founded Rainbow Women, a professional network for all LGBTQI+ women. Alex is a natural leader and mentor, and has even been awarded the 2020 Sapphire Inspire Award recognising outstanding contributions for LGBTQ+ women in Australia. An activist for all diversity dimensions, Alex truly champions the value of people's uniqueness. We also have Emma, was the former Head of Diversity, Community, Government and Infrastructure at Cricket Victoria, and is an accomplished senior leader with extensive experience in sport, policy and health and promotion, spanning 20 years in government and non-profit sectors. Emma holds a master's in public health and has previously worked as a senior advisor in community, sport and recreation for the Victorian Minister for Sport and Recreation as a health promotion project manager using sport for social change in India, Fiji and remote Australian Indigenous communities. In 2018, Emma was awarded with the Pride in Sport Ally of the Year and led Cricket Victoria to become the leading sport for disability participation and LGBTI inclusion practices that includes 4 published research papers. We have Christy Lee is a passionate and driven champion of diversity and inclusion at Clifford Chance. In addition to her role as practice support coordinator within the litigation and dispute resolution team, Christy Lee co-founded and co-leads the AUKUS Australia Network, Clifford Chance's inclusive employee network focused on issues relating to gender equality and LGBT+ inclusion and diversity. We also have Penny. Penny is Aurecon's diversity, equality and inclusion manager for Australia and New Zealand. Penny's pronouns are she and her, and she is strong and active ally for the LGBTI+ community. For the past 3 years, she has led Aurecon Pride Network alongside LGBTI+ leaders. The network advocates for actions and facilitates change to increase LGBTI+ inclusion. Over that time, Aurecon has moved from participating employer to bronze status, to this year being awarded silver status with Pride in Diversity's AWEI, Australian Workplace Equality Index for LGBTI+ inclusion. Finally, we have Andrew, who with pronouns he, him, is a senior relationship manager and LGBTQ trainer program manager at Pride in Diversity. Pride in Diversity is Australia's first and only national not-for-profit employer support program for all aspects of LGBTQ workplace inclusion. Help me welcome our panelists all together. So our first question for all our panelists is, explain your company and your Pride network. So we'll start with Darren.
Thank you for that. First of all, I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that I'm on, which is the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and also pay particular respect to the unique intersectional disadvantage that exists for LGBTIQ+ people who are also members of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community. I'd also, before I kick off, just on a language front, say that at Metro, we use the term LGBTIQ+, because it's the term we use. Please understand that that is meant as inclusively as possible. So it's not meant in any way to remove reference to any group, and I hope it's taken in that light. So Metro Trains is a company of 6,500 strong in Melbourne who has the contract to run the trains. We have a range of white collar and blue collar employees, as you would imagine in a train company. And we've had a Metro Pride network or working group. It's had a few different names since essentially a few months before the marriage equality plebiscite, which was the sort of catalyst event that created our network. And I'm sure that'll probably come up a little bit in discussions down the track. And our Pride network has evolved over time because originally it was a sort of an all-in of leaders that wanted to make a difference and employees that wanted to make a difference. And over time, as it's matured, we've now seen the need for us to have layers to this process. So we have, apart from our diversity and inclusion steering committee, which has overall governance of everything diversity and inclusion, the work of what was our Pride group, if that's the best way to describe them, is now two different Pride groups. One is a Pride working group, and their role is to achieve our objectives. So they're folks with leadership and accountability roles, particularly with respect to the tasks that we see as critical to LGBTIQ plus inclusion, and we draw our inspiration or our North Star on that from the Pride and Diversity criteria. And then linked with and alongside that working group, we have a Pride network, which is for folks that identify and their allies, and it's an opportunity for, and that group exists because it creates an environment for identification and for connection, and also gives us an important sort of mustering point for the feedback loop between the working group and stakeholders. So that's essentially the framework that exists. And as in that form, it's also relatively actually new, because we've gone down the path of separating them out only recently. We came up with the idea fairly unrecently, and then a little pandemic got in the way. But we're now just in the process of consolidating ourselves into that sort of formal structure at Metro.
Thank you for that. We'll next go to Penny.
Hi everyone, and thank you Alex and Darren for your beautiful acknowledgements. So I work at Aurecon. Aurecon is an engineering, design and advisory business. We have around 3,600 employees in Australia, and we also have operations in Asia and New Zealand. Our network was founded in around 2013, 2014. And currently we have around 40 people across Australia and New Zealand who join a regular Pride catch-up. That's a call every 2 months. Then we also have regional diversity, equity, inclusion networks. So one in New Zealand, and then we have 4 or 5 in Australia, and each of those networks has a LGBTI plus pillar lead. So the final piece of governance is Australia New Zealand Diversity and Inclusion Council, to which the co-leads of those networks attend. So that's sort of how it flows out. I might leave it at that.
Thank you for that, Penny. And we'll next go to Alex.
Hi, thanks Alex, great name. My name's Alex, she, her are my pronouns. I identify as a plethora of things, but most importantly, I think for me to share here is that I identify as LGBTQ+. For me, I'm a bisexual woman. I also live with invisible disability. So really honoured to be here, and appreciate the acknowledgements shared earlier as well for our First Nations people. I also just want to recognise it's Trans Awareness Week too, and share that I live as a cisgender woman. So my perspective that I shared today is from a position of privilege, and I always want to make room for people that are in different positions to me. But in answer to the question, AGL Energy is who I work for, and they are a leading ASX private organisation that have millions and millions of customers. I don't know the exact amount, but we have around 4,000 employees that span across all of Australia. And those employees also make up or join our AGL Shine network. So we have about 550 people on our AGL Shine network base. And we established it in 2015, and it's also, I think I've recognised through what Penny and Darren shared, not just for LGBTQ plus identifying employees, but also for allies. And a very important piece of AGL Shine success is the ally piece. So the vision of Shine is to promote the inclusion and celebration of LGBTQ plus identifying employees, make them feel safe, included and valued every day at work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We'll next go to Andrew.
Hello, thank you. Thanks, Alex. Welcome, everyone. As mentioned, Andrew Giorgio. I would also like to acknowledge the acknowledgements that have already been made and acknowledge First Nations people and where I am coming from today. But thank you for having me. I guess for me, I sit in a unique position. As mentioned, I work at Pride in Diversity right now. So Pride in Diversity, you know, by its nature works, and I get to, and I'm very privileged to work with many organisations which will help them, hopefully, work on, you know, what they're trying to achieve in this space. So I get to work with organisations to either start up, set up, create, you know, maintain, or maybe even re-energize networks right now. So, you know, I enjoy that space. And I think, you know, one of the things for me is Pride networks are quite diverse. I think Darren's already shared that, you know, in terms of there is not, I don't think one size fits all, but it's got to work for you in terms of what your organization looks like. And then just previously before me, so I was, before I started Pride in Diversity, I was at Telstra for 9 years. And so when I joined that organisation now over 11 years ago, their Pride network was already established, albeit, you know, issues with not having the technology that we do today. But it was set up in a global kind of perspective with regional leads that kind of led different areas. And I was responsible for the co-chairing of our global network, as well as leading the Victorian chapter in terms of the network at that time, in terms of the way that we kind of did and ran our network. Maybe I'll also just pause there and getting to pass on to other people, but thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Andrew. We'll next go to Emma.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks for inviting me along this evening. May I acknowledge the Bunurong people on the lands on which I am privileged to live and work in Elwood in Victoria. I do need to preface that I'm here in a capacity of my previous role, having just left Cricket Victoria about 4 weeks ago. My role was very much a community engagement, diversity inclusion role, and you know, fundamentally the vision and mission of Australian cricket is to be a sport for all. To understand what a sport for all means, we need to understand all our different community groups. In 2016, we started exploring the LGBT community. I'm going to leave it at LGBT because that's what we focused on at that time. But we started with research. It was really important for us as an organisation to actually have an evidence base, to actually understand what are the barriers to, at this point, participation in sport. What was holding people back? What were the perceptions? That was fundamentally our base. We needed to know what was happening in the community before we could progress to understand what did we need to do. Out of that, there were a series of recommendations that, you know, it's taken several years to deliver on all those recommendations, and one of them being setting up a Rainbow Advisory Committee specifically for Victorian cricket. We've done a lot more in between that and beyond that, but I'll leave it at that for the moment.
Thank you very much, Emma. Now we'll go to Christy Lee.
Hi everyone. So yes, I'm Christy Lee Malik. I use she, her pronouns, and I identify as a lesbian woman. I'd first also like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of each of the lands, the land that I'm meeting on today. For me, it's the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I acknowledge their sovereignty was never ceded, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people that might be joining us today. So as Alex mentioned, I work for Clifford Chance, which is an international law firm that's based out of Sydney. Within Clifford Chance, there is a ARCUS network, which is our global inclusive LGBTQ+ network, open to those that identify and also their allies. And the aim of our network is designed to encourage an inclusive and integrated culture within our firm that gives colleagues a choice to be their true authentic selves at all times. And This presence is in almost all of our offices, and it's usually run by employees of all levels who are really passionate about creating a safe space for everyone that steps foot in our office, visits our website, or interacts with us in any way. Sometimes we even collaborate regionally or globally together on initiatives to support the LGBTQIA+ community. I actually was the co-founder of this network or the Australian version of this network with my former co-lead Nathan Eastwood, and with the support and contribution from our ARCIS committee, we've been celebrating diversity and inclusion initiatives relating to the queer community for several years now, which has seen us achieve gold status at the Australian Workplace Equality Index consecutively now for 2 years in a row, and of course hoping to keep that streak running for the foreseeable future.
Thanks very much for that, Christy Lee. Now we'll move on to more broader questions. So this question is open to everyone. So what challenges establishing the network, and how did you overcome them? Christy Lee, did you want to take this one?
Of course, yeah. I think the hardest part, and I know it's probably going to sound cliche, but being the only one in the village. I mean, I've been with this company for 9 years now, and in the beginning, representation of queer people was very minimal, or at least to my knowledge. You know, some people aren't comfortable disclosing their sexuality, so you know, you might not be the only one. And if there's no presence of an active LGBTQIA+ network, then there's nowhere for those to identify to find comfort that they can be their authentic selves in the workplace. So like other challenges I faced when starting was not being in a role where maybe you think that you can make those kinds of changes. And I later figured out that no matter the role that you're in, you can be the change that others need. And the only way to overcome these things is to really step up and, you know, just be that change. So myself and my previous co-lead before the network was established prominently in Australia approached our managers and the partners about our desires to revamp the whole network, and we were met with nothing short of the ultimate level of support. So we were then provided with a platform to assure that there was visibility and representation of queer leaders in the firm. So really just taking that step, you know, to drive it forward and making sure people feel safe and included.
Alex, did you want to answer this?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. So I think I can't speak to starting of AGL Shine, but working in diversity and inclusion at AGL has really shown me that a lot of work does often get asked to be put back on the back burner when it relates to our people, and the importance for me was always to show the best business case, and that really helps to continue to have important issues like LGBTQ+ inclusion, gender diversity, cultural linguistic diversity at the highest level of importance. So, you know, resting on research like Emma was saying and what Emma's organisation conducted, like let's rest on that research by McKinsey, Deloitte, by, you know, the researchers that are looking into why is diversity, inclusion, belonging so important. There's so many good reasons to keep it thriving in business.
Anyone else want to add to this question?
I'm happy to completely agree with both Christy Lee and Alex, and building on that, I think one of the challenges, and I also wasn't there for the founding, but I did do some research, went back to my predecessor, was around allyship. So really encouraging, a bit like Christy Lee, you know, the complement to what you were saying is that, you know, the only one in the village, but then who do you need? You need the allies. And so how do you encourage allies to come forward and start to work together? And then on the leadership front, building on the business case that you talked about, Alex, I think there can be a sense of that the passiveness and actually encouraging leaders to move to the activeness. And, you know, people saying, I don't have any problem with anyone, whoever they want to be is fine. But actually moving from that, you know, tolerance and acceptance to active support is probably what I'd add to those other reflections.
My answer is going to be.
And Darren, did you want to add something?
Yeah, and I'm going to apologise up front. My answer is going to be boring. But governance stuff is really tricky in this space because of this sort of interplay between, and I think this is where potentially, say, Metro's story is a bit different from other people, is that our first Pride group existed, you know, with this idea of creating a space where people could connect and there was just general sense of cultural safety. But within a millisecond of existing, there became this idea of, oh, well, we should look at changes that need to be happening in the workplace. Let's look at this pride and diversity criteria and let's go out and affect change. Now, the problem we faced, and I think some organisations will be in the same boat, is that the folks who got together in the room at the start because they were interested in connection and they were interested in this cultural safe space weren't necessarily the same people who should be in the room when it came down to talk about what sort of workplace change needed to occur. And that's not even a question, and I must say at Metro, this isn't a question of we couldn't convince leadership that a more inclusive culture was a good thing or worth investing in or the like. But it was more a case of, okay, so everybody agrees with that, but who's in the room when the decision gets made? And if you say, well, let's go out and have the biggest network we could ever possibly get, and then you go, okay, let's do that. Let's have 75 people. Now let's affect change with 75 people in a room. It doesn't happen. And it's not the right 75 people even to begin with. So there's a moment, I think, where all groups like the one that like these need to stop and do the terribly boring work of saying who belongs where and who does what. And not all of that is necessarily that simple because there's, you know, even then you've got this issue of at Metro in particular, whether it's LGBTIQ plus inclusion or gender diversity or the like, our whole strategy is built on leader accountability. It rises and falls with the idea that this is driven from the CEO and cascaded down. And you can get into, unfortunately, a little bit of a turf war because the leaders and then their direct reports want to take over everything. And the change advocates, the identifying and the allies, you know, were the ones in the room 2 years before doing the hard work going, well, why is this being taken off us? And there is an unnecessary loss to sideways energy when that happens. And so for mine, I think if I had time over or I was starting again from scratch, as boring as it is, I would suggest take a beat and think about the dull stuff of governance and see what you can do to avoid that moment as much as possible, because you'll thank yourself in the long run when you do.
Boring but important.
Very boring.
Thanks very much for that. Next question is, once the network was established, how did you keep running it and how did you keep people interested? Alex, did you want to answer this one?
Oh, I've said too much. I think Emma should go.
Love the hairball, Alex. Yeah, great. Thank you. It took us a number of years actually to establish our Rainbow Advisory Committee. We did it with partnerships. That was really important so that we were still incredibly novice in the space of how to include LGBTQ people in not only the workplace, but our cricket playing communities. So we're really lucky to be mentored by Proud to Play, an incredible organisation here founded in Victoria, founded by Dr. Ryan Storr and James Lollicato, and also Pride in Sport, which is part of the Pride in Diversity. So we had some really terrific mentors that assisted us with, who are some great representatives from the community and a really cross-section of community, which was really important to us. Yes, we were narrowed in that it's about physical activity and playing a team sport. You know what, pretty darn lucky. People wanted to affect change and they wanted more for their community. So at the moment, although I've now left, but it was monthly meetings. So each year, as an example, the advisory committee would set the direction and what our priorities were for that year. Noting that quite often in an organisation, I was one of two people driving inclusion and equity practices. So what are in fact we capable of and have the capacity to do? Really important to identify that, because whilst you want to affect so many things, if you just do one or two things, again, cliche, but just do them well, it's really important. So they would set what the priorities are, and we would, you know, as the facilitators, would be accountable for delivering on that. So give the power back. You know, as someone who is an ally, I don't have the lived experience. My job's to give the power to the community to make the decision, set the direction, and it's my job to facilitate it. So that's been my experience.
I can build on what Emma shared, Alex speaking, about, you know, giving it back, giving the power back, providing a platform, and keeping these networks running is really about, it's about human connection, right? Yes, the governance happens in the background. Like Darren said, that's super important. But on the front foot, getting the stories out, our people at AGL connect with our people and our customers, our communities. So giving the platform to our people to share their story, that's essentially actually how I came out at work, is using one of the platforms for my own benefit and telling everyone I was bi through a you know, an AGL Shine project, and that helps people to connect to the cause, and they can read that story and go, oh, Alex, I worked on that project with her, she's bi, never knew. And it's more of a, you know, personal connection to them then, rather than a business case or a business reason to do something.
Yeah, I might build on that too. So yeah, combination of governance. So up front, you know, everyone's really busy. So up front, at the start of the year, we get all the meetings in place, and we have our action plan. So there's a real focus and purpose, and when we progress through it, and we have meaning to be there and to be connecting, but also having a lot of fun. So on those, and making it really light and something quite different to their day-to-day work. So we share some stories. We might have a funny question that we all have to go around and answer, and just build that connection and make people feel really good and motivated and refocused on whatever action is that they're going to be taking back for them, to really celebrate the achievements and really mark when we get something done, and also to build on that connection and storytelling with regular events. And, you know, the gift of COVID has been that we've come together for these virtual events, and so stories can be shared much more widely, and it's been interesting. The connection's almost been greater, I feel, in this online environment. People have really shared in a really incredible way, and then lots of support through the chats, and really, you know, really open questions, people really happy to answer them. And so I think all of that combined keeps people connected and keeps the network strong.
Thank you for that. Now the next question is, what is the importance of having a Pride network at work? So Andrew, would you be able to answer this one?
Yeah, of course. So, you know, for me personally, what is the importance? You know, it's the, you know, for me personally, when I was at Telstra, when I knew there was a Pride network once I first joined, and the way that we joined at the time, 9 years ago, was through an email distribution list, and that was the way that they only had access to it. You know, for me as a, you know, out proud gay man, you know, being in that organisation, seeing that visible sign that the, you know, the organisation was taking, you know, that knowing that that was there meant everything to me. You know, it really means why I am here today, sitting in the role that I am in, because of, you know, that feeling that the Pride network created for me to really, you know, thrive in an environment, in a workplace that I really felt that I could be completely out. And it was probably my first organisation that I ever felt completely out, and it was because it had a Pride network. If I reflect on the history of why it is that, you know, I feel that, is because I didn't see that visibility within other organisations, and knowing that they were putting their efforts behind, you know, creating these spaces, creating these opportunities, showing the visual signs that the organisation as inclusive. So I think It's super important. I think it's a place that we still need to create and have the spaces, not only from that connection piece, the belonging piece, but also, for people to also, empower people to work on things that they want to, that they believe, to make that change within the organisation as well. Like I think that there are so many cases, not only the business case, it's the heart, it's all the pieces that it makes up. We have to spend a lot of our times, majority of our living daily lives at the workplace. So, we should be creating these environments that people really feel like they can be completely out or thrive within that white space. And I think the Pride networks really give that.
Would anyone else like to answer that question?
I'd love to jump in and share that it's, like Andrew said, for me, just completely changed my life. And not just through AGL Shine, but through AGL Shine, I was able to meet other Pride networks, other organisations. So ANZ Pride was a big one because we read the report, Where Are All the Women, in 2018. And for me, I was like a baby queer. I came out like 3 months before I read this report. And Christy, I see you like, man. It like inspired me to go, where the hell is my space? I've got a Shine. That's also, gender diversity, sexual diversity, allies, but where's that space for me, for my connection? So creating Rainbow Women really, it just like completely reshaped my friendship base, my chosen family. And, I know now that some of the people I've met through they're on the call, I see their names, but they will be people that I will love till the day I die. And they empower me to be me. I'm just like, I'm completely myself. And that wouldn't happen without these Pride networks.
Yeah, I'd like to second that, Alex. I being one of these still only queer women at Clifford Chance, I have found it a struggle, and after reading all of those reports, but having diversity networks even at other places that you're able to then link up with and speak to, and even listen to these kind of panel events and be like, I can just connect with them on LinkedIn and I can have a chat, or find a mentor on the OFA platform. It's a great way to connect with other queer women. But I think that the importance of having a Pride network at work is you're giving, as everyone has said, giving a platform to queer people. And for me, it's not something that I ever saw myself doing. I would never think that I would be on a panel. I would never think I'd be leading a diversity network, winning awards for the firm, ending up on the outstanding role models list. Like, I would never imagine that could be something that I could achieve. But it's through the diversity and inclusion at our firm that we have been able to do this. And it's really building the profile of others that come in, and the baby queers that come in through the firm, and and the potential hires that we get in the firm, to really say, look, we're here, we love you, let's make something great, let's be inclusive, and really move forward. And people are better at their job when they're able to be themselves. So just start a Pride network if you don't have one already, and make that space, because you'll just get better work out of it. So because you'll have happier people.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Oh, Alex, can I just make a quick comment on that? Christy Lee, that is so powerful, and that passion just shines through. I just wanted to make a comment. It's the psychological safety. That's what I'm hearing. Like, at your law firm, you've created this psychological safety that people get to be themselves. And that's the kind of environment that these committee advisory group, whatever you want to term it, bring to the workplace. Yeah.
I just like to offer a slightly different perspective as a cisgender heterosexual white male. Just there's so many of us in the diversity space. I think the thing is, there should be a voice of folks like me saying why these networks are important, because if we're serious that LGBTIQ plus inclusion has a business case, then business leaders should be as enthusiastic and driven towards these outcomes as those with lived experience. And then you need to think about the idea that these networks become very much part of the solution space for that. Not just because it doesn't work if it's about but without folks who've had that lived experience, but also there are just efficiencies to the problem-solving process. At Metro, we were the first, I think, public transport agency in Australia to have transgender guidelines that were outward facing to transgender passengers. And that's the sort of, that's not very, as the diversity inclusion manager, that's not exactly something that I'm going to be inherently just there at. But when you've got a network, you've got stakeholders who can drive the changes that as a leader I'm wanting to see in my organisation. So I think I would hope in every organisation, for every queer and baby queer that needs these networks, there are leaders and baby leaders who want them as well, because they are very much the business case.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So I just want to remind our audience that if they have any questions, they can put them in the Q&A box and we can answer them later. Now moving on to our next question. How do you celebrate events during the COVID pandemic? And what events do you celebrate? So do you celebrate the Trans Awareness Week? And how do you celebrate it? So who would like to take this one first? Andrew?
Yeah, I can kick us off. Yeah, 100%. So obviously in this COVID new world, virtual is probably, our closest and most familiar friend right now in terms of how we do things. And so, of course, during this week, Trans Awareness Week, we curated a panel discussion, which was really based around lived experience and learning and listening from others. And I think one of the things around any types of events that can be a really powerful piece is the story telling piece. That kind of ties into people sharing what it means to them, or sharing experiences, or sharing their allyship. I think Alex talked about it, we probably all talked about it, but that value of sharing what it means, I think is a really powerful piece when we do events. And so right now, all events, all pieces of work are online, but I also think, it can increase engagement, especially for those that aren't, where we're used to working in such city-centric or metro specific metros in the location, not metro in train, sorry, Darren, but maybe also, but it's taking that conversation and discussion further, which I also think is something, when we come back out in 2020, will be 2022, let's hope so, officially, that we bring that in, and we always plan for events that have some kind of hybrid, or we're talking about ways that we're always constantly engaging in both ways. But I think they're there, and getting creative in the events that we do as well also helps. But I think they're kind of some of the things. I'll stop talking about that now. Like I banged on for a little bit. Sorry about that, Alex. Somebody else?
I think I agree with in 2022. So online events have been really democratizing, and that's, the numbers are great, and the participation amongst blue collar, for want of a better term, workers has been better than it was when we did in-person events. And the temptation in 2022, when we can get together again, might be to forget that and lose some of the things we gained. But I hope we don't. And so, yeah, we are mindful of the idea of how we do hybrid in the future. At Metro, we don't do Trans Awareness Week because we're relatively frugal about the diversity calendar, and LGBTIQ+ already has more than most, because we have Ida Hobbit, we have Wear It Purple, and we participate in the Midsummer March. So that's kind of all we get. And there is, good reason for that in terms of making sure we have, that we get good engagement when we talk, rather than talk too often. And I guess for us, and the thing I'm always the most proud of is even when the city was empty, we lit Flinders Street Station up purple everywhere at Purple Day for the last 2 years. I believe it's the prettiest building in Australia that gets lit purple, but other people might have their own biases on that. And I think to some degree, as I said, that goes to our what we think is part of the unique relatively unique charter that Metro has, which is that when we talk, we can talk to 6,500 employees and around about 4 million rail passengers. And it's really important that, when it comes to not just, normalisation of things generally, but also the safety of our passengers, that we are very visible and using these days to have a very outward and inward voice.
Darren, it's Alex speaking. Can you please add Bisexual Awareness Week and Day to your calendar? I find those very important.
I've noted, as an aside, I've had this comment with our network as well. I have a sense, and I don't know if anybody else does, that the general vibe was we landed on LNG for a while and just skipped past the B and straight on to T.
We are here. We're queer, and we will not disappear.
I do worry that bi-visibility is I think is the missing piece at the moment in a lot of what we do, but I don't necessarily have solutions for that in my D&I calendar space.
I was thinking about stickers, like I am bisexual. I may be in a man-woman relationship, still bi.
Can I make a suggestion? So at Clifford Chance, we do have obviously wanting to make sure that we focus on events and we do them well, but we ensure that every single time there is a day of significance, that we send an email notification out. We give links to various training that maybe Pride and Diversity are doing, or local events, or any kind of opportunities that come around that, and we share that on our internal Yammer, and we also send emails out so that even though we're not doing an event on that day, that event is celebrated and recognized and acknowledged, because as Alex was saying, every day is important as the rest, and we need to make sure that we don't miss out on any of those that identify, but yeah, just making sure that we cover all bases. But I think that during this pandemic, if anything, it was like the most important time to make sure that there is a diversity network present, especially, to make sure that people are safe, because some people might be in environments where it's not safe to be queer. So at Clifford Chance, we were really busy. We did 2 amazing panel events, one for Wear It Purple Day in partnership with Out for Australia, to discuss why we need to protect the LGBTQIA+ community during lockdown, and also the benefits of having a mentor, as well as like recognition of International Lesbian Day, which was in partnership with the Pride and Diversity Sapphire Network, which focused on challenges of women and queer women and that they still face this day. And we also sponsored the Pride and Sport event for International Lesbian Day. It was a great day to be gay. But I had the best day and the best week. But yeah, we definitely fly that rainbow flag high as hell during the pandemic. Didn't stop.
Can I just add to that, Christy, that it's Christy Lee, if you prefer, that it's not even about having the days and a big event, right? Like I lived with someone, a straight, was it you, Darren? I lived with you, straight cis white man one time, and he knew it was Bi-Visibility Day, and he comes home from work and he goes, "Happy Bi-Visibility Day, Elsa." And that, I just started crying. I was like, thank you so much. But even just acknowledging it, just saying, hey, today is your day. You're not invisible. It wasn't a read, Darren.
And I think, can I also add, it's just anecdotal, like something that somebody shared with me around just the power of communicating the days. Yes, we don't need to put all the effort behind our network in doing that, because understandably, we just don't have that much, momentum. But somebody shared with me in a roundtable recently that they just posted a part of the Pride Network. They posted on their online 2-way channel about one of the days of significance. And somebody from another region contacted this person and went, "Thank you so much. That meant the world to me." And then the person who did it was like, "That meant a lot." Even though I didn't think it was, but I knew that it was right to do it and didn't get the direct, the fact that that came around to them really obviously then re-inspired them to do it. So we don't know the impact that even just the comms can really make from that perspective as well, about creating that visibility as well. And I thought it was a really nice story as well.
Well, thanks very much for that. And this will be our final question. What would be the most important thing you've gotten out of your Pride Network?
I'll jump in. it's the learning, such an incredible opportunity to sit and listen and learn perspectives from different people, their experiences. And, it just brings so much more richness to, gosh, it sounds so the cliche, but it really does. It just brings richness to your organisation, could be your personal team in your workplace. It's just so important to do. They're all
Just
the
do
cliche
it.
things, but they're real. It really is as simple as that. And I respect meeting people where they're at. I think that's been really important in our process. And that, because I'm the advocate, that's great. But who's the quiet middle in the organisation that we can bring with us, so that it's not always that. So for me, it's it's just a beautiful opportunity to engage with your employees and create that belonging that we all crave.
I was going to say exactly the same thing, Emma, but then I felt I was being a bit selfish because I've probably learnt more than anyone else who's been involved in the network. But I also always hear that, each individual who's an identifying member of the community is always learning as well, because everyone's experience is different. I mean, I think the other thing to keep in mind is that having a network, a little bit to what Andrew was talking about before, is actually a much bigger symbol of inclusion than just LGBTI+. So I think we shouldn't lose sight of that actually this has ripple effects for intersectional, but also other areas of diversity. And my parting words, which is not exactly directed back to your question, Alex, but is just start, just do something, just get together, just pick one thing, just have one conversation, just have one event, and then things will just grow from there.
And I'm not sure if my microphone is working. I just got a notification that it's not. All right. The biggest thing I've got out of the Pride Networks being a thing is that I just stopped lying to myself. I started as an ally, and then I was like, yeah, everyone loves all genders. Like, that's normal. Most people just lie about it. That's not normal. You're bisexual or pansexual or a sexual diverse person. So it encouraged me and empowered me to be my true self. And I have been on this upward incline in both my career, my personal life, my love life, hey babe, since coming out. So, the last 5 years has just been a full game changer. That's what I've gotten out of it the most.
I just want to say that the thing that I've gotten out of it the most is people actually come to our firm because they know and they've heard about our diversity and inclusion. They've seen us win awards. They've heard about our talks. They've seen us because we try and get everywhere, partner with everyone, make sure we get out and about and celebrate all of these days. So the biggest thing is, people already know who I am when they walk in the door. I was like, I've seen you. And I'm like, yeah, of course you have, because I've spoken so many times this year. But, just being, I do accept Queen when I walk around the office sometimes, but just making sure that if you identify and you want to have a chat, or that people can approach you and they feel comfortable and confiding in you, and just having that that kind of safety and creating that safety for those that come in, be it clients or people that come into our firm, are safe and happy, and they enjoy their time here and they get involved. So I think that's one of the things I've loved about having a Pride network at work.
Nobody talks about the downside, like the fact that everybody in the Pride network is cooler, hipper, more well-spoken than me. But I cope with that every day. I think the issue to me, I've met through the network. I'm more likely to engage with some of the most interesting people in our business, and it is a bit like that intersectional thing, but it's just generally speaking, when I think about what the journey is in terms of our diversity inclusion strategy, they're folks that get what I'm going through on the level that relates to their identification and gender and social inclusion, and reconciliation. And so, I find great energy out of engaging with people when I'm not deflated by their awesomeness, because I'm competitive. I find energy from it, and then it's just the other thing is they're very, very good at holding me to account in the nicest way possible. And that's, in a world of many balls in the air, that's really important.
Darren, you're also very cool. We need allies. It's because of you that we, like, not everyone is queer, surprisingly, but you know, like, we need allies like you. So continue to do what you're doing because you're making a difference.
Yeah, you're cool, Darren.
Yeah, we love you.
Thank you. And I was just harvesting for compliments, so a mission accomplished.
Fish.
So we've had a question from the audience, and this is from Georgia. She would love to hear any tips for reigniting the engagement in the networks that may have dropped off over the COVID times.
I reckon if you can get a little panel event together, an invitation from the CEO to attend said panel event, and write it with the enthusiasm that Darren talks about his network members holding, then that's the kickoff point. And then you can maybe do it some training or just take it from there. But I think trying to bring everyone together, CEO leading, some diverse stories, beautiful way to reignite.
This wasn't particularly post-COVID, but take it as it was setting everything up. It was actually a social activity. And we were fortunate, we took everyone to a footy game at the MCG. So that was that connection point to invigorate, but it could be reinvigorating. So perhaps some kind of social activity to bring your crew back together.
You know what always brings people together? Food. So we have got Pink Friday coming up, which is in line with Transgender Day of Remembrance. So basically it's an initiative that Goldman Sachs started. And basically we've got our firm's branded pink t-shirts, which is to show everyone that we're inclusive on that day. So everyone wears pink. I know it's usually Wednesdays we wear pink, but regardless, there's going to be food on the bench, pink everything. And yeah, just to, you know, people will come to the kitchen for food. So you know, why not have a couple of flyers up about the network, how to join, when the next meeting is. And yeah, I second the training. Pride and Diversity do amazing training. So like Ally 101 training and LGBT 101 training is amazing to have, just to, you know, get people talking again.
And if you can't do food, do merch.
Yeah. I was about to say that, Darren. If you come to the training, you get one of these.
Yeah.
Dangle the carrot, exactly. Yeah, I think all the things are great ideas. You know, reminding people of their communications, inviting people in to provide their thoughts and feedback about what they want to see, creating the events and spaces as well, and getting the insights from our people around what do they want. You know, maybe put a survey out as well to get to see what people are interested in for the network.
Totally. I'm on the same boat as you, Andrew, that with Rainbow Women, we survey our members every 6 months. And, you know, whilst I would love to run Rainbow Women exactly the way that I would like it, because it's by me and my pals, I recognize that the members, their voice is important. So, you know, do you want social events? Do you want panel events? Do you want to listen to a podcast? Do you want to listen to me talk for an hour? You tell me. What do you want?
Cool. Well, thanks everyone. That about wraps up our panel event for this evening. Thank you for coming to tonight's event. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you have a good evening.
Thanks for organising.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.
Bye.
See everyone. Thanks, Alex.
See ya.